So sitting next to you, or sitting behind you, or front, so sitting next to you, you might be sitting next to a black devil.
It states in Psalms chapter 82, verse 6, I have said ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High.
Right Knowledge Radio, let's go. Radio. Let's do it. This is what being a Nuwabian is all about. All right. This is Right Knowledge Radio with your host, Murhuta Herokayu. All right, and we're back. This is episode 30. This is going to be in strictly audio. The song that just played, that's a track that I made, hip-hop track. I've been doing hip-hop tracks for about 15 years. I had to lay off of it for about 10 to handle, about 10 to 12 years. I did it on and off, but I really had to handle my business as a grown man. It wasn't making any money for me back then. But we are going to be putting out a lot of Nuwabian music. Anybody out there who's listening to this, who's a Nuwabian, they got some knowledge, give me a call, hit me up, whatever you want to call it, get in contact with me, with Murhuta. Because we're going to start a little record label, strictly Nuwabian influenced music. So if you're a Nuwabian, please give me a call. You can email, I'll put my email in the show notes. If you got any lyrics or any verses, that pertain to us as a people, let's get together and make some music. I'm going to be laying down some lyrics for that track. You guys leave a comment. Let me know what you think about my track. I got like 30 or 40 other tracks, but, to record them and mix them, it takes time. It really does take time, and we're off grid. So sometimes I only we always got power, but I have to do it like in the morning. So, because we got wind turbine, we got gas, and we got solar panels powering us for most of the day and night. So yeah, we gonna do our thing here. Thank you for listening. If you're listening, matter of fact, let's give applause to everybody who joined the show today. I got this equipment where it's called a Tascam Mixcast 4. If you guys are interested in doing webcasts or podcasts, and it's a pretty neat device. It's very useful if you plan on doing this, full time. So let's sound the alarm. Okay, so I'm just playing around here, but let's get back to this is episode 30, the Right Knowledge Radio. In this episode, we want to continue reading the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors Constitution, right? All right, we can get some props for that. Because it's very important that Nuwabians understand how to live. The master teacher got kidnapped, and if you've been into his case, like I've been for the past 5 or 6 years, the last year or two I haven't, kind of got discouraged by the gatekeepers keeping him in there. Now, if you've listened to this webcast before, you know who I think that is, and I will say their names in the future, but I'm doing a little bit more research on that. Well, we all know Deuce of York was writing frivolous paperwork, kind of like the sovereign citizen stuff, and that never works. Sovereign citizen stuff only gets you in prison or in jail, not out of it. I will go into sovereign citizen ideology, which really started from some Canaanites, some racist Canaanites, anti-government Canaanites that came up with the straw man and all that stuff. Because you will never see that work in court. I put my life on it. You will never see that stuff work in court, and you will never see any paperwork agreeing with someone from a judge in any case law that shows that that stuff works. So I only go by the facts. I'm a Nuwabian, so there's some names to name out there, and we'll get into that in the future. Matter of fact, let me take note of that. Okay. So today we're going to read part 2 of the Constitution, which is of the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors Constitution, Statutes 10 through 14. So let's go. So it says part 2, the UNNM has the inalienable right, Statute 10, basic human necessities, Section 1. We, Yamasee, tribe of Native Americans, the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors, as well as each human, have a natural right to education, food, clothing, shelter, and medical attention. For in any society, this is humane. According to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights by UN General Assembly, Resolution 217, 217 Article 25 states, 1, everyone has the right to a standard of living adequate for the health and well-being of himself and of his family, including food, clothing, housing, and medical care and necessary social services, and the right to security in the event of unemployment, sickness, disability, widowhood, old age, or other lack of livelihood in circumstances beyond his or her control. Let's touch up on that. As a nation, we need to provide housing, right? Housing, whether it's a trailer, you want to build a house out here, whatever. That is available. We do have parcels of land available on our land. And we got 2 people coming out here before the Gregorian year ends to kind of check out the area, see if they like it, and they're going to move in. They've already handed in their applications. So it is possible. We have the right to build and take care of our own people, food. We got plenty of food here. We got a food cart here to feed people on the land. My wife cooks very, very well. There's actually a story that I heard. I might have to dig this back up, that there was a family, I think it's in Mississippi somewhere in the deep South, and there's a chicken plant there, where they farm chickens, kill them, and, do whatever with the meat, right? They sell it. But they're dumping toxic waste into public water. And somebody from the UN found out about this and reported it in the UN, some kind of UN health report. And the United States didn't like it at all. They didn't like the UN finding out that they're not taking care of people, right? Because they don't see it as their people. I think they see it more like a state problem, right? And that's a problem when you got corporations dumping toxins into local water supplies like they did in Flint, Michigan, right? This ain't right, you know what I mean? So, it is what it is. So, let's go with Statute 11. Protection, Section 1. We, Yamasee tribe of Native Americans, the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors, have the inalienable right to take the necessary means within our own laws as he or she sees fit to be secure in our beings as well as our property, family, friends, and personal effects. This also pertains to our inalienable right to keep and bear arms on our beings as well as our own property. According to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 3 states, everyone has a right to life, liberty, and the security of person. So when you fill out the 19-1, you actually take an oath to defend and to bear arms for the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors. So if you're not ready to do that, then step back. Step back, Jack. You know what I mean? So let's continue here. Protection, Section 2. We, the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors, have the inalienable right to demarcate our traditional territories. The definition of territory includes air, land, and sea. We, the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors, must promote traditional analysis of traditional land rights in all our territory. I don't see none of that talk coming out of the Sabians. Sorry, I had to say it, right? I had to. According to Appendix 3, Indigenous Peoples Earth Charter, Human Rights and International Law, number 39, traditional indigenous territorial boundaries, including the water, must be respected. It's not always respected, even though it's in the words here. If a nation is more stronger than you, then they're just going to take your stuff, right? No matter what's on this paper, right? Let's be real. Let's be real. So we're not trying to take over anything. If we buy something and we declare for the nation, then we are a nation. So the draft Declaration of Rights of Indigenous Peoples, page 1 states, recognizing the urgent need to respect and promote the inherent rights and characteristics of indigenous peoples, especially the rights to their lands, territories, and resources, which derive from their political, economic, and social structures, and from their cultures, spiritual traditions, histories, and philosophies. Convinced that control by indigenous peoples over developments affecting them and their lands, territories, and resources will enable them to maintain and strengthen their institutions, cultures, and traditions, and to promote their development in accordance with their aspirations and needs. Statute 12, Legal Matters, Section 1. For all legal matters, a member of the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors cannot be accused or held for a violation of a political code such as Uniform Commercial Codes or any other codes of another nation. The United Nuwabian Nation of Moors and other nations and peoples should take effective legislative, administrative, judicial, tribal, or other measures to prevent acts of torture in any territory under our jurisdiction. Now, that goes for in our nation, in our land, in our laws, right? We don't have a uniform commercial code. We would just deal in equity. You know what I'm saying? Was it fair? Is this what you guys agreed upon? Then one of our judges would look at it. According to World Campaign for Human Rights Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel, Inhumane, or Degrading Treatment or Punishment resolution, Article 2 states, 1. Each state party shall take effective legislative, administrative, judicial measures to prevent acts of torture in any territory under its jurisdiction. According to the World Campaign for Human Rights Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel, Inhumane, Degrading Treatment or Punishment, under Resolution 39/46, adopted by the General Assembly on 10 December 1984, Article 4 states, 1. Each state party shall ensure that all acts of torture are offenses under its criminal law. George Bush Jr. didn't do that when the Iraq War, but okay. The same shall apply to an attempt to commit torture and to an act by any person which constitutes complicity or participation in torture. 2. Each state party shall make these offenses punishable by appropriate penalties which take into account their grave nature. Within the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors, any medical personnel, public officials, educators, counselors, etc., and other persons must be educated and given information regarding the prohibition against torture, and it must be included in their training, especially those who may be involved in the custody, interrogation, or treatment of any individual subject to any form of arrest, detention, or imprisonment. Excuse me. The World Campaign for Human Rights Convention against torture and other cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment or punishment under Resolution 39/46, adopted by the General Assembly on 10 December 1984, Part 1, Article 1, states, 1. For the purposes of this convention, the term torture means any act by which severe pain or suffering, whether physical or mental, is intentionally inflicted on a person for such purposes as obtaining from him or a third party information or a confession, punishing him for an act he or a third person has committed or is suspected of having committed, or intimidating or coercing him or a third person, or for any reason based on discrimination of any kind, when such pain or suffering is inflicted by or at the instigation of or with the consent or acquiescence of a public official or other person acting in an official capacity. It does not include pain or suffering arising only from inherent in or incidental to lawful sanctions. 2. And this article is without prejudice to any international instrument or national legislation which does or may contain provisions of wider application. A Nuwabian Moor is a natural individual who must adhere to the only one true law, universally understood to be natural law. All right? I will say this about understood to be natural law is fairness, equity. However, when one breaks natural law, which has to be put into words by our nation, there are going to be penalties. Period, point blank. There's going to be penalties. You must learn to be a good Nuwabian citizen and a United States citizen. So, and a good citizen of your state. According to the Indigenous Peoples Earth Charter states, we, the indigenous peoples, walk to the future in footprints of our ancestors. From the smallest to the largest living being, from the four directions, from the air, the land, and the mountain, the Creator has placed us, the indigenous peoples, upon our mother, the earth. Now, Statute 13 of the UNM Travel, Section 1. All members of the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors, being natural individuals and indigenous peoples, and are not subject to any political codes of any other nation, reserve all natural rights to travel the roadways, highways, byways, waterways, and airways unhindered. Now, if it's our roadway, cool. If it's United States, you can choose to get a driver's license or not choose to get a driver's license. It's up to you. It does say that driving is you need a license for a commercial activity. You don't need a license just to travel, but the states, states and the cops will lie for revenue. That's pretty plain to see, and I've experienced it. They will lie. Now, if you want to fight that battle, that's cool. If you know what to do in court, know how to write affidavits and research the law, you can fight that battle if you have time to do it. You should be able to travel unhindered, right? If you drive like a nut, they're still gonna get you, but you're not traveling for commercial purposes, so you're not driving. You're traveling, but you're not driving, right? So, but if you wanted, there's plenty of YouTube videos on that. I'm not going to do a video on that. I'll probably just refer you to somebody else who's really into that. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights by the UN General Assembly, Resolution 21 Alpha, states, Article 13, 1. everyone has the right to freedom of movement and residence within the borders of each state. So even the UN is saying it. And United States is part of the UN. 2, everyone has the right to leave any country, including his own, and to return to his country. Now, that's true unless you're wanted, right? If they think you committed the crime and you're wanted, you're probably not free to leave, right? So take that into account. Statute 14, Education, Section 1. All members of the free and sovereign Yamasee, Aniuwea, Shoshone, Blackfoot, Washita, Seminole, tribe of Native Americans, the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors, the indigenous peoples of this hemisphere, hereby reserve our inalienable right to educate ourselves, meaning our men, women, and offspring of the 5 tribes recognized by the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors. For we are the best qualified to teach our story, culture, art, and science. Now, we did add the Aniuwea, which is Cherokee. You know, a lot of Moors, a lot of brothers and sisters of Cherokee, including myself. Well, not Cherokee. Cherokee is a French word. Cherokee. It's not even Aniuwea is the true name. So it says, according to the Convention Concerning Indigenous and Tribal Peoples in Independent Countries, this was in 72 ILO. I'm not sure what that means. Official Bulletin, page 59, entered into force September 5th, 1991. Article 28 states, 1, children belonging to peoples concerned shall, wherever practicable, I'm probably not saying that right, but it's okay, be taught to read and write in their own indigenous language, or in the language most commonly used by the group to which they belong. When this is not practicable, okay, the competent authorities shall undertake consultation with these peoples with a view to the adoption of measures to achieve this objective. Now let's stop for a moment and pause, right? International law for tribal peoples, indigenous and tribal peoples, have the right to be taught to read and write in their own indigenous language, right? So why are so-called black people going to Canaanite schools, learning the Canaanite one of their languages, which is English, and they don't even teach you that well? People still come out of school, can't read or write at an efficient level, right? They don't even read and write at a senior level in high school. You know what I mean? So, but see, black people, they don't know that they have no culture. Their culture is to emulate their creator, which is the Canaanite, the Caucasoid. So they're in a bad spot, because Brother Malcolm said, what did Malcolm say? He said, if you're being educated by the enemy, he's you in bad shape. You in bad shape. So it's very important that we start building schools. You know what I mean? Like Dr. Umar Johnson, I guess, is supposed to do it, but nah, he's just stealing people's money. I guess he bought 2 schools in Delaware that needed work. It needs an overhaul. You know what I mean? And brothers and sisters was offering electricians, plumbers, construction people, you know, all Morenos, all Moors. And the people said he never called them back. Never called them back, no nothing. So that's enough for me to, you know, to not invest my money in that and invest in our own nation, in our own Nuwabic language. So education, Section 2. The United Nuwabian Nation of Moors also have the inalienable right to establish and control our educational systems to provide education in our own language, Nuwabic, in a manner appropriate to our cultural methods of teaching and learning. Right? I mean, that's pretty much self-explanatory. We have the right to control our own educational systems. All right. For those who are awake, I think they realize what right and power that they have. Those who are asleep, put the covers over your head and get your blanket and go back to sleep. You're not part of this. Education, Section 3. Measures shall be taken to ensure that the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors have the opportunity to acquire education at all levels on at least an equal footing with the rest of the national community in our environment. Right? According to Draft Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, page 1, part 4, article 15 states, indigenous children have the right to all levels and forms of education of the state. All indigenous peoples also have this right and the right to establish and control their educational systems and institutions providing education in their own languages in a manner appropriate to their cultural methods of teaching and learning. Right? So what are you guys waiting for? Let's build. Let's build. That's what the master teacher wanted us to do. He said, wherever you at, that's where you build. Right? You know, we got to get active. We got to, and also let me mention one thing, because I've talked to a couple brothers and sisters in their 50s and 60s. I talk to the master teacher. Y'all can't tell me nothing. You know, acting like a bunch of niggas. Y'all can't tell me nothing. I've been with the master teacher. Okay, but what are you doing now? Nothing. You know, you ain't done nothing. You know, how are you helping build? You know, since the master teacher got kidnapped, and you're going to hear crickets. They ain't done nothing, but they want to brag and have bravado because I touched the master teacher. I smelled him. You know, you sound like a Christian preacher, man. So, you know, all these things, man, we have to get real again. Stop enslaving yourself to the master teacher. The master teacher left this document for us to build, and we love our brother, the master teacher, Nuwabian. You know what I'm saying? We love our master teacher. We love the founder of our nation and the founder of many different orders and organizations and fraternities and maternities. But when he needs us to build, we got to start building. All right? So education, Section 4. The imparting of general knowledge and skills that will help the children of the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors to participate fully and on an equal footing in their own community and in the national community shall be an aim of education for these peoples, right? So again, we need to build, have some type of building on our land to educate the children, our offspring, which we're working on the plans right now, you know, to do that. Education, Section 5. Educational measures shall be taken among all sections of the national community, and particularly among those that are in the most direct contact with the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors, with the object of eliminating prejudices that they may harbor in respect of our nation. To this end, efforts shall be made to ensure that our story, textbooks, and other educational materials provide a fair, accurate, and informative portrayal of the societies and cultures of our nation, right? So again, we have the right to educate ourselves. I don't know why the Negro is afraid to do this. From your Jesse Jacksons to your Al Sharptons to Christian Negro preachers, colored preachers, whatever they're calling themselves, you know, because they have no culture. They have religion, but religion is not culture. Religion is religion, right? Religion is not culture, right? So again, I'm only here to inform as being part of this nation, to inform you that these words are real. The master teacher wrote these words and they are for real. But you guys did not take them seriously. And I'm talking you guys, meaning so-called Nuwabians or people who split off and they formed their own nation, right? or is it even a nation? I don't know. I have no idea. But I know we're a nation, and the people who call in that I talk to know that we're a nation. This document says that we're a nation. So I guess we're a nation. You know, it is what it is. This is what Amanubi Rakhta left behind. So this is what is going to happen. So that's the show for today. I don't want to make it too long. I got to get out of here. I got to run. We got things to do in the land. Got projects going. So peace and love. That's Achug Hade. No, Achug Hade Hatub. Wadu.
So sitting next to you, or sitting behind you or front, so sitting next to you, you might be sitting next to a black devil.
It states in Psalms chapter 82 verse 6, I have said ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High.
Right Knowledge Radio. Till next time.